question's come up more than once in the past few days as to what would be the pivoting point that would get people, maybe myself included, to turn around their sentiment regarding the 2026 edition of your Pittsburgh Baseball Club. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. My reflexive answer to that question is not one that you want to hear, which is absolutely nothing shy of firing the general manager. Like not a thing shy of firing the general manager. And that's because I long ago lost confidence in him. In other words, I don't think that there's anything that could happen this offseason that he could instigate that could end up being a good thing. But since we're playing in hypotheticals here, let's go right ahead and extrapolate while trying to work within real parameters. The first thing, the top priority, would have to be adding all kinds of hitting. There are a couple of ways to do that. One is a free agent spending spree. I'll pause while you get that laughter out of your system. My belief is that payroll will not increase meaningfully over this offseason. I have no reason whatsoever to project otherwise. So what you're left with are trades and, trades. Or trades that would lead to freeing up some money, that would lead toward acquiring somebody through free agency that wouldn't necessarily cost as much, since the Pirates really don't have too many players making actual money they could trade. Name that pops to mind, obviously Mitch Keller. Mitch is making some money. Mitch is, without a doubt, operating within the team's position of strength, that, of course, being starting pitching. Do I consider Mitch to be expendable? No. I believe that a staff needs somebody like Mitch on it. Mitch is a slam dunk, 30 starts, 200 or thereabouts Ks. You need that guy in your rotation. But even though I would consider having Mitch on the team to be simple cost of doing business, this team is not about doing the cost of business. It's just about the business. So yes, I could see Mitch getting traded. I could see Mitch getting traded either to free up cash for hitting or to bring in an actual hitter or two. Do I think that's going to amount to anything? No, just no. I don't know how much more evidence anybody needs, but no. If Ben Cherington were to stumble upon a good hitter through external means, that hitter would only come here to die, figuratively speaking. Or they would just be the same player that they were before. I'll cite a semi-positive example for you in Spencer Horwitz. Horwitz came along, he had the wrist issue, known wrist issue as it's known, and he was, in arriving here, a late-blooming, light power, platoon hitting first baseman. By season's end, once he got a little bit more comfortable coming off the wrist ailment that slowed him down through spring training, he ended up being a light power, platoon hitting first baseman. They don't come here to get better. They come here to either be what they were before or to get worse. If you can cite an example to counter that, good luck. I'll give you all week to come up with one. Where else could this offense come from? Cherington made a remark at his "I can't believe I still have this job" press setting the other day that there are certain kinds of hitters that the Pirates will be taking a bet on in places like Pittsburgh, and other euphemisms that he finds to avoid saying "my owner's cheap," and to thus lay blame on the owner for his inability to add bats. Well, what that means is you're going to get a whole bunch of, and I say this with acknowledgement to both the good and the bad that were brought by these players, Tommy Pham, Adam Frazier, and a whole lot of other, Jack Sawinski, Alexander Canario, Joshua Palacios, fringe types, and say, this is going to be a competition. We believe competition gets that. No, it's not. It's not. It's going to be exactly what it's been. And that might even include bringing Pham back, only in his way upper 30s. This concept that Cherington will be out to add offense isn't new. He has said this before, and he's at least gone through the motions of it before. What people don't want to accept, and what Bob Nutting doesn't want to accept, is that not only does this GM not know anything about building up an offense, it also isn't his priority. It also isn't his thing. That was true going way back to the beginning of his Pittsburgh tenure when he was adding all those catchers who could hit 110. Remember them? If you don't, you're forgiven. But these are the guys who would come in and he would say, well, we just believe in their ability to manage a staff and to play defensively, and we just think that that's more important than what they bring at the plate. He's always been that way. If you think he is going to change that magically because of one uncomfortable press setting, or 1 month or 1 week or whatever it was where he'd feared that his job might be in jeopardy, you're mistaken. He's not going to do that. He does not think offense is the name of the game in baseball. So the offense that you're going to see, and I'm not even getting into whether or not Andrew McCutchen is brought back, might be lesser than the one that you just saw. Incredible as that might seem. There, how did I do? I'm sorry, I can't. What do you want me to say? You want me to lie to you? You want me to say, yeah, he's going to nail it. They're going to give him all the money and he's going to build up this lineup and it's going to be glory land and they're going to give him a standing ovation at Pirate Fest. And come on, when we come back, J1Q. If you're looking for a great dining experience, look no further than North Shore Tavern. Located directly across Federal Street from PNC Park, next door to Mike's Beer Bar, North Shore Tavern is Pittsburgh's home for steak on a stone. Enjoy your steak finished on a hot lava stone in front of you, where you ensure each piece is cooked to exactly your liking. Or try their rotating selection of entrees, hot sandwiches, salads, and burgers, all while enjoying the ambiance dedicated to the great players and history of the Pittsburgh Pirates all around you. Come see why everyone's talking about North Shore Tavern and steak on a stone.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragechek.org. That's gunstoragechek.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Hey guys, if you're planning to see a Pirates game, use the Game Time app to get your tickets. You can snag new ticket deals before anyone if you set it into app alerts. The app is easy to use, no surprise fees at checkout. You can see your seat view before buying, and you're getting legit tickets delivered on time. Now, if you're not much of a planner, you can get last-minute deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. Lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app and enter the code DK Pirates in your app profile for $20 off your first purchase. Today's J1Q comes from Kevin, who says, DK, I know that Bob Nutting supposedly said Ben Cherington is returning, but it looked that way with Neil Huntington too before the backlash forced him to change course 2 months later. Do you think there's even a slim possibility of that happening here too? The backlash certainly seems to be louder this time around. Probably just wishful thinking on my part. Yeah, it is. In this case, it is. I was very much immersed in the 2019 process that you're describing, Kevin, and I mean very much immersed. And I had a feeling all along that there was a chance that Huntington and those guys, meaning Frank Coonley, Kyle Stark, and everybody, because remember, at the end of the season, the only guy who was fired was Clint Hurdle. All the rest of them stayed. And being honest here, I'm a little uncomfortable sharing a lot of this because a lot of this was behind the scenes stuff and whatever that I was trusted to keeping off the record and did and will always. But Huntington and Stark and baseball ops were always on the hot seat. That was true throughout. That was true through Hurdle's being fired. What Nutting didn't want to do was to fire Frank Coonley, his team president. What ended up happening was that Coonley tethered himself, surprisingly, to Huntington and said, if he goes, I go, at which point Nutting said, you're all gone. There is nothing remotely similar to that dynamic right now. Also, and this is important, Huntington was silenced for about a month straight. You might remember this because I was the one obnoxious enough to be reminding everybody of how silent everyone was. It wasn't just Huntington. It was Coonley. It was everybody in management. The only person who was speaking out of 115 Federal was Nutting. That in and of itself was unusual. So there was never a moment where Huntington went out and faced a bunch of us and said, yes, Bob has told me I'm coming back, the way Cherington just did. Cherington answered that question honestly a week earlier in saying, no, Bob has not told me I'm coming back. I am operating as if I am. Nothing like that happened back then. Now, as to your point about whether or not the blowback is worse now or then, I don't know. I'm not in a great mind frame to sense that, because back then I think it caught Nutting, especially him, but everybody really in that building, by surprise, the degree to which the public was going to be angry about this. Now, I mean, what's really a surprise anymore? They flew planes over the stadium demanding that the team get sold. They've had demonstrations. Every other piece that's written about the Pirates, anywhere, not just at our place, calls for Cherington's firing, calls for Bob to sell the team. There's no novelty to this anymore. It's just become part of who they are. And I think that Bob has either learned better to withstand it or he just doesn't give a crap. It's probably somewhere in between, because you got to have a little bit of both to tune out everything that he gets. So no, I mean, my short answer here could have been no. There's nothing comparable here. There's not going to be a reversal. Now, does that mean that Cherington could open up next season, 10-20 and not be the first one out? We'll see. But for right now and for this offseason, no, that's not going to change. I appreciate the question, Kevin. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We'll have another one of these tomorrow.